Welcome to this video on defining your strategy in the Globstrat simulation. One of the first tasks you will have to do in the simulation process will be to define your business strategy as a team. This strategy will have to be specified in the business model template proposed in the Management tab. These choices are modifiable during the first 2 years of the simulation. Your competitors will be defining their own strategies simultaneously. Therefore, you will be uncertain about the strategic configuration of your industry when starting. This also applies to your competitors. It is obviously preferable to start with the right strategy from the beginning, rather than wasting time and resources on redefining it along the way. But you may need to adjust it on the basics of your competitors' strategies. You won't get any information about competitors during the practice rounds, but you will be able to test the early implementation of your strategy without disclosing it to competitors. At the end of year 1, you will get some information about your competitors' positioning, just on time for adjusting your initial strategy and your business model if needed. The strategy thinking process that will lead you to define your strategy as a team will be essential. This process should lead you to define a clear and coherent strategy for your company. Your strategic thinking should rely on at least 4 strategic management theories: governance theories, competitive advantage theory, market-driven approach, resources-based theories, taking into account first, the values and the goals of your governance, here your team, giving your shareholders carte blanche for defining your strategy. Second, your anticipation of your environment and of the future structure of your industry, identifying the most attractive development opportunities for your firm, giving you what you know and guess about your industry future and your competitors. Third, your markets, the trends and expectation of the markets and market segments on which you will try to build a leadership, taking into account the available market survey. Fourth, the available resources that will have to allocate in order to invest for the future and to differentiate yourself from your competitors. The conversion that you will find between these 4 strategic dimensions will thus lead you to define a dominant strategic direction and to specify the 3 fundamental elements of your business model: your value proposition to the customer targets you have selected, the value architecture that will differentiate you from your competitors and allow you to deliver that value proposition to your customers, finally, the economic equation that will allow you to finance the necessary investments and make them profitable in the long term. Before defining your strategy, you should know that it will be evaluated each year and at the end of the simulation by evaluating your share value. Your share value is built on 3 performances: profits, profit, and profit. That is usually the case, but in Globstrat, your share value evaluation is based on profit, people, and planet. It will be up to you to define from the start your ambition along these 3 dimensions. In terms of profitability, it is a question of obtaining a turnover growth that will generate a profit, a positive annual result, and a return on capital employed, ROCE, above 10%. 75% of your share value depends on growth and profits. The remaining 25% of your share value will be allocated on 2 bases: your corporate social responsibility, measured by a CSR index, base 100 initially, which can more than double over the entire simulation, and your sustainable development level, based on your ISO 14000 certification, given at 4 levels of certification are possible. In the version labeled Triple Bottom Line, a TBL dashboard is added evaluating the alignment of your profit, people, and planet performances. This alignment will award you a bonus of 10 share value points for each of the 4 possible levels of alignment. In this high-tech industry, which will evolve rapidly, you do not have any competitive advantage at the beginning. You have equal chances with your competitors wherever they are based. The 3 markets, America, EMEA, and Asia Pacific, are comparable, and your companies are confronted with small local competitors who together occupy the same market share as that of each of the active competitors. The structuring of these markets are identical in 3 market segments: consumers, local public communities and small businesses, and large enterprises, representing approximately 1/3 of your sales each. Their trends, growth, expectations, technological preferences are likely to diverge from one market to another and from one segment to another as you move forward in the simulation. It is up to you to analyze these trends via market research, which can be bought online in the Marketing Intelligence tab. Be careful, some market segments may seem more attractive than others and become your target audience. However, do not give up too quickly the other domestic segments that will constitute a pool of resources, income, and profits to ensure your development elsewhere, development that you will have to build gradually, making sure to use time as an ally. The current environment of your business will evolve rapidly over the next few years. It is therefore important to anticipate these changes in order to invest in future opportunities and avoid the risks and threats that you might be confronted with. In this prospective analysis of your industry, do not forget to consider the structural elements which will enlighten your strategic choices, namely competitors' possible positioning determining the future structuring of your industry, market growth, expectation and key success factors specific to each market segment, innovation, products and services that will renew and differentiate the competitors' offer, the markets and product life cycles, emergence, growth, maturity, decline or crisis, which will necessarily replace old products by new ones. Finally, new entrants who will appear on your markets given their internationalization strategy as well as yours. Do not forget to update the market study. It is free in first year. Beyond this, it is extended by 1 year every year, but will have a cost. Your strategic thinking will naturally have to integrate all these dimensions in order to enlighten the choice of a dominant strategic direction, a porter's generic strategy or a more innovative strategy. This strategy choice will have to be concretized by the definition of a business model in terms of a value proposition to your customers' targets, in terms of value architecture to differentiate yourself from your competitors, and finally in terms of economic equation to finance your investments and make them profitable in the medium to long term. Defining or redefining your value proposition to your customer targets will impact the customer value generated for each market segment where you operate. The customer value will measure the perception of your proposal by the customers of the segment, taking into account the competitor's offer. This customer value is essential in Globstrat as it will determine your relative market share in each market segment. It will be the result of your positioning compared to competitors on 6 attributes of value creation. 1. The attractiveness of your price given the price sensitivity of your clients. 2. Your reputation in the market given your advertising efforts and your social reputation. 3. Your product offering, your ability to innovate and meet the expectations of your customers. 4. The quality differentiation of your offer in terms of ISO 9000 certification. 5. Sustainability differentiation of your offer in terms of ISO 14000 certification. 6. Your customer intimacy in terms of market coverage by your sales agencies as well as services offered to your customers. This customer value may be reviewed each year through your business performance, which will display your customer value by market segment free of charge, via market research that will indicate the expectations of different types of customers segment by segment for the next 3 years. Beware, the sensitivities that are indicated reflect the evolution of the relative weight of each attribute, but give you at best a relative elasticity, in no case an absolute elasticity. Via the sales survey, which will indicate each year the positioning of the various competitors segment by segment in terms of price, customer value, sales, and market shares. Through the value creation study, which will show your customer value structure compared to the market segment leader and allow you to evaluate your strengths and weaknesses. Second element of your business model, the value creation architecture that you will generate thanks to your investments. You will act on the internal value chain, uniting the different functions of your company, but also on the external value chain that will bring together your suppliers, your partners, and your customers. 3 main areas of value creation are available in Globstrat. In the center, the axis of innovation thanks to the new functionalities that you will be able to develop and incorporate in your new products. Simple products, incorporating a new feature, hybrid products, combining 2 new features, and complex products that combine several new features. On the right, the differentiation of your offer via your quality or ecological certifications, your customers' proximity, build on your sales agency's network and your service policy. And finally, the reputation of your company based on your advertising and social efforts. On the left, the competitiveness of your company that will rely on your internal and external costs, on your distribution costs, and on your sales price to determine your ability to stay competitive. Certain markets are obviously more sensitive to this competitive dimension than others, which may prefer differentiation. Innovation will be active in all markets, but not necessarily with the same innovation content. To help you to better manage your investments and your financing, Globstrat offers in the forecast an investments financing table. This table will show you on the left the investments you plan to make this year in your decisions, and on the right the financing resources that you have already mobilized to finance them: cash flow, new debts, capital operations. You must naturally balance this table in such a way that the financing resources match the planned investments. If not, you should either find new sources of financing or give up some investments. New borrowing will only be possible within the limit allowed by the model, the limit being indicated by the contextual help window, interrogation point icon. Contextual help is available for all decisions and remind you of the definition of the action concerned, its cost and impact, but also the limit allowed. Be aware that this financing chart must be completely balanced. If this were not the case, you could not submit your decisions. The strategy you will define as a team should be clear and coherent. Remember, however, that what will really make the difference is the alignment and consistency of the implementation. Enjoy the simulation!